Thanks very much, Mr. Stefanovic. I hope you enjoy the tea. So, Mrs. Mani, you've been in the Parliament since February 2011. You've been watching this whole process. So I want to ask you the same question. How has this dialogue and the normalization process evolved, both in Kosovo and also personally for you as an MP? As I understand, you did not vote in support of the 2013 first agreement, but you did vote to approve the most recent agreement on the principles of the association. So how has that changed? And is part of that a function of the amount of information that was being shared with the public in the beginning of the process, and the amount of information that was being given to parliamentarians? So can you speak about the evolution and also how we get access to this kind of information and what kind of oversight the Parliament can have in Kosovo over these agreements? Thanks.
Good morning, Dobardan. Thank you so much for the invitation. It is actually my very first time in Belgrade. I've never been here, so I really hope it's going to be the first of many more visits and cooperation to come. I'll actually start by answering your question and then return to some of the issues that I was planning to discuss if the time allows. In fact, the 2013 agreement on normalization was the result of a bunch of talks between Mr. Thaci, who was then Prime Minister, and Mr. Dacic that were absolutely non-transparent to the public of Kosovo, not to the general public only, but also to the members of Parliament who were supposed to vote at the end of the day. In fact, it was at the end of the night, because it was at some time in midnight that we were asked urgently to go to Parliament, and we were given the agreement. We were actually given only 5 to 10 minutes to look at the agreement and decide what we think about it. I had my doubts then, and I have my doubts now on the text of that agreement, especially because I know the situation on the ground. I come from Mitrovica. I've worked in North Mitrovica for many years, especially in 1999 and onwards, when those parallel structures were being built. I knew how they function, and I knew that it's not going to be easy or simple to dissolve them, and absolutely that it's not true that this was the biggest win in Kosovo's history, and that implementation is going to be the biggest problem to come. The agreement on association, which is just the implementation of the majority of the points of the 2013 agreement, in fact did not come to Parliament for a vote, so I never had a chance to express my opinions for a vote. But I have to say that I'm still hoping that I will be proven wrong on the vote from 2013. I'm still hoping that the very aim of the dialogue, which was adopted initially through UN resolution, UN General Assembly Resolution 64/298, which was to promote cooperation, to promote peace, stability, security in the region, but most of all, as we've heard from our keynote speaker, to help to improve the lives of the citizens, would actually come into place. And my job as a member of Parliament is actually to look at this last point, whether lives of the citizens are being improved. And when I say lives of the citizens, I, as the representative of all the citizens of Kosovo, be it Albanian, Serbs, Roma, Ashkali, Egyptian, Turkish, Gorani, and others, believe that there's so much more that can be done. Unfortunately, it's been so many years since the dialogue has started, 2011 to 2015. And when I go back to Mitrovica and I talk to either people in the south or in the north, they say that they've been hearing lots of abstract notions about what success means and what normalization means, but they want to see tangible results. And unfortunately, they haven't seen much of that. From their perspective, tangible results would, I absolutely agree, relate to them having jobs. So I continue to insist, as I did in 2013, that the only way to integrate all communities living in Kosovo would be through economic development, would be through creating an environment so that they can work together with one another. They might have had animosities, they might have had lots of problems in the past, but they have a family to keep alive. And it might be a problem for a couple of days for them to work in the same office or the same factory, But after a while, they will get to know one another, and they will not have the same problems as they did at the very beginning. I've seen lots of similar problems around the world and saw how economic development and economic progress has helped. Unfortunately, throughout the dialogue, 2011 to 2015, this last point in the UN General Assembly resolution, as well as in what was seen as the aim of the dialogue from Catherine Ashton initially, seems to be left behind by most politicians. I'm not only talking about Kosovo, but from what I see also in Serbia, is that we see lots of statements on, as Mr. Stefanovic said, who won 5-1 or 8-2 was something that we heard quite a lot back in Kosovo, but not the concrete, measurable, or tangible result that will improve the lives of the citizens. So I think that lots needs to be done also to translate the language of the agreements, which in lots of the cases, as you know, can be interpreted in many ways because of the constructive ambiguity that Brussels loves to use so often. But to translate it to the citizens also through a transparent process, to go and talk to them and tell them why the Association of Municipalities is good. What we hear is simply people blaming one another. No, I did not do it. It was the other one who did it, so I'm just implementing it. If you keep blaming one another, it feels like this is not a good thing. At least this is the impression that the people will get. So if you try to translate the agreement into a language that the people will understand as something that improves their lives, I think we would have a much better, not just a much better understanding, but a higher acceptance or ownership for the agreements among those whose lives should be improved, as the initial documents have said. Now, as I said at the beginning, my biggest worry was how the issue of dissolution of parallel structures would work through the 2013 agreement. I was looking back a few months ago at the reports compiled by the government of Kosovo, Edita Tahiri in this case, on implementation. And I was struck to see something that was written there, talking about no progress in the dissolution of parallel structures. In fact, she talks about regress. She says that we're going back, despite of elections, the first local elections, according to Kosovo laws taking place in Kosovo northern municipalities. What has happened is that the interference of Belgrade within the works of the leaders of those municipalities that were first, as I said, elected to Kosovo laws, has increased. The Belgrade government has even blocked them from adopting budgets according to Kosovo laws. And when you block them from adopting a budget, obviously you're blocking them from improving the lives of the Kosovo Serbs living in those northern municipalities. So blocking the budget and talking quite a lot on Serbian national TV about how you want to improve the lives of the Kosovo Serbian population living in those northern municipalities, they actually contradict one another. So there is, among, not just among politicians, but among the people of Kosovo, quite a lot of concern with respect to implementation, especially about the dissolution of these parallel structures and the interference that Belgrade is continuing, especially in these northern municipalities. Not to talk about how things have changed quite a lot in Kosovo politics after the so-called Srpska lista, the Serbian list, as one political party won seats in the parliament, and we hear statements from those representatives that they actually do politics based on what Belgrade tells them, although they are members of the Kosovo National Assembly. So there is, I'm sorry? Yes, of course, we have a deputy prime minister in our government and a number of ministers from Srpska lista, which, by the way, since you had mentioned the integration of communities and representation of their interests, shows the commitment of the Kosovo government since 2008, when Kosovo declared independence, to allow a non-precedented high representation either in the parliament or in the government that goes beyond the actual numbers in the population. We are happy. I believe that most people in Kosovo, and I believe it would be best to look at what the majority political parties believe of this process, not what the third political party represents currently as a view on the process of the dialogue. But I believe that the vast majority of the people and the politicians that represent those people think that the fact that normalization and EU integration are going hand in hand, or are going as a parallel process, is positive in itself. However, of course, as Kosovo, we would have loved to see more progress for Kosovo in the EU integration perspective, because we remain the only country in the region that is not benefiting from the visa liberalization regime, as well as the signature for the Stabilization and Association Agreement, which is the step that we've been waiting for so long, is just being postponed month after month, and it feels like we do not see how Kosovo is getting the actual carrots from the dialogue process. Especially since, as I said, we continue to see an asymmetrical implementation. If we compare how much the Kosovo government has implemented and how much the Serbian government has implemented from the agreement. There are, of course, if we look at the list of the agreements that have been achieved at the technical dialogue, we just compared how the institutions have acted towards implementation. We have a constitutional court of Kosovo who simply rejected to look at the Brussels Agreement of 2013, and we have the constitutional court of Serbia who, if I understand correctly, has